What's up, everybody? Welcome to the College Loop Podcast, the 11th episode, I believe, the College Loop Podcast. And for the first time ever, we have only two face cams, but three people on the podcast, as Daniel and Tarr are both in the same room right now. How y'all two doing?
Wouldn't have it any other way. This is great.
We're having a good time, man. It's good to be able to actually hang out with your friends and that you work with, and it's good to be back on the plane. It's always good to be home.
Yeah, and this is following a Auburn victory on the Plains after they beat Mississippi State 69-63 in a game where Auburn just the last 30 seconds just went forever. And y'all two were at the game, so y'all probably felt it more than I did watching it on television. So how was
It was
that?
rough.
Yeah, because I don't think Auburn just kept fouling at that last 30 seconds was just brutal to watch. But top story of this game, Jay Will having
We've only been preaching it for a while, man. We've been preaching it forever.
Is it his career high 21 points?
It's a great question, and I'll go through the rundown, and you can look that up for me while I do. Is that okay?
Yeah, I'll look it up.
That's like we'll start there. But I mean the story of this game, Daniel, or really it's Jaylin Williams.
Yeah.
What a guy in terms of you looking around and saying, well, nobody else is going to score, and I'm hot. And there were a couple of shots that he put up that I would usually not be okay with, but they were heat checks. And sometimes I get it. You just got to find out. And then there were a couple of circus shots that went in. I thought he played out of his mind on both ends of the floor. Him fouling out was really where I started biting nails. I was a little nervous there. The officiating, I'm not one to say this, Dylan. You know, I try to be as neutral as I really can. Officiating was bad both ways. It was not. It didn't benefit either team.
Yeah, I got the point for you. So actually, last season, or not? Yeah, January 6th, 2021, or 2 seasons ago, actually.
24 points?
24 points at Ole Miss.
You see, I thought it was 24.
So he owns the state of Mississippi, is what we're trying to say.
Sure. Rumor has it. Rumor has it that way.
21 points, 7 rebounds, 2 assists, shot 5 of 7 from the 3-point line. Really helped Auburn find any kind of 3-point shot. You can skip it in the rundown. For the first time ever, Auburn actually looked decent from the 3-point line this season.
I thought Auburn looked good from the 3-point line tonight. I mean, when you're shooting 44% from three, 11 to 25, you're probably not going to see that from this team again this year. If you see it again in March, then you're in good shape. That's another storyline, right?
Yeah,
the shot selection was not outstandingly great. There were open looks and they took them. KD Johnson namingly saw the ball go through the rim, and I know we've been talking about getting him in a straight jacket. And I agree to an extent, but at some point you do have to look and say that was a good move, a good moment, because sometimes you just got to see the ball go through the rim. It really does change everything. But from the 3-point line, I mean, you're not going to lose very many games when you shoot 11 to 25 from the perimeter and your opponent shoots 0 of 18. That'll do it.
So you're not going to win very many games to shoot 0 of 18 from the 3-point line.
No.
The KD shot, I remember me and you texted about it. I was screaming at him for shooting the ball, and then my attitude quickly changed whenever it banked in. It was like I was as crazy as KD was right at that moment. I lost my mind.
It felt good to see for sure.
Yeah.
A sight for sore eyes.
Yeah, hopefully he can get some more shots. And
KD, I mean, quietly had 5 points tonight. I know that's not an eye-popping number, but it's been so tough to watch from him recently. He only took 2 from the perimeter, only went to the rim 5 times and played 17 minutes, and he played good defense tonight. He played KD Johnson, what we're used to, his brand of physical on-ball defense. And in the first half, it was beneficial because I've seen Dennis Rodman games played cleaner than that. But to that point, that's definitely a storyline you need to keep your eye on. If KD can get back to being not the KD of last year, I don't know that that's in the cards for 2023, but I think that you get back to being an average player, slightly above average, kind of a little bit of a microwave. That could be big for this team, and it could be big for them come tournament time. Because I'm starting to think that if Auburn, I mean, barring the minus the fact that this team refuses to put people in the rearview mirror, which that is something I was going to talk about here in a moment. That Auburn team I saw play tonight for, I would say, of the 40 minutes, 29 and a half. I don't know. I feel 29 and a half feels good. 29 of those 40 minutes felt like a team they could beat anybody. And the other 11, you go through those little droughts like every team does, but the droughts are bad. The highs are high and the lows are low. And this team struggles to find a middle ground. So that's kind of it's something to keep an eye on. I got a question for Daniel, and you put this on the rundown, Dylan. I'm going to let him fill it. Where the hell is Janai Broom tonight?
I didn't see him.
Yeah.
I didn't see number 4. I must have missed him sitting right there on the 3-point line. But a very, very quiet night from Janai Broom. Only putting up 6 points, which I've come to expect a quiet 18 to 20 from him. But he did have 2 steals, 4 rebounds, and an assist. So not a horrible night, but just not really anything too eye-popping. Still struggling to grab some boards on the offensive side of the ball. That would be nice to see him get.
His consistency in large has been there, though. And another guy I'm going to ask you about, Dylan. I'm getting there. I think Flanagan and Alan Flanagan may be back to being Alan Flanagan. And this could be, I mean, if he continues this trajectory, guys, I'm going to go ahead and put him as my way too early comeback player of the year.
I mean, I don't think that's out of the cards to have it right now. I mean, I don't know. Who else would be available for the comeback player of the year for Auburn? I'm trying to.
Unless Stretch Akingbola starts getting in games and putting up massive.
How legendary would that be?
Very.
I think that you're probably right. There's probably not another storyline, but still, I mean, Allen, he looks healthy. His decision making has improved over the past 5 games since he's been back in double figures. This is what, 4 straight, right?
Yeah.
This is 4. But even dating back further than that, his decision making is better. His ball handling has gotten better. And he's playing a little bit more. And I've talked about how he's a forward, but he's playing a little bit more like a guard now. And I think for NBA purposes for him, and I can't believe that we're talking NBA about Alan Flanagan about this, there's going to be some teams that are going to look at his skill set and say, we can fix him. And I don't think that he's that broken right now.
Oh, no. And look at the box score for him. He loaded out the score sheet. I mean, 10 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals, and Auburn's only block of the day came from Alan Flanagan.
And my favorite moment of the entire game came from Alan Flanagan, and it was after a whistle. So let me share real quick. With a minute and a half left, Alan Flanagan and Janai Broom went up and hacked one of the Mississippi State guards. I can't even remember who it was because I was too infatuated with this place. It was hilarious. They hacked him, didn't score. Good moment for Auburn, but it was a foul, and it should have been on Janai. Janai slapped the whole forearm. It wasn't close. For those of you watching the visual podcast, Daniel, put your arm up real quick. Janai literally did this number. And the ref blew the whistle, and Alan just looked at the ref and goes, "That was me. That was me. That was me," because Janai had 4 fouls and Alan only had 2. And that's an underratedly hilarious moment.
Actually, that's really smart play on his part too, because that would have knocked out
1,000%.
Yeah,
you're already down Jaylin Williams, and they're making a little late game surge. You got to keep Janai in the game.
Yeah, but as we go ahead and go into some of Auburn's miscues tonight, or do you wait? Actually, skip one thing. Wendell Green Jr. shot 100% from the free throw line. I know you have a little question on here from yourself, but I was going to do that high point of the free throw line, 100%, 7 of 7 tonight, and has shot 40 of 45 from the line in the last 6 games.
Yeah, I saw a pretty crazy stat that. Well, first off, Wendell Green Jr. may be the best free throw shooter Auburn's had, and I don't know how long. I'd have to go back and fact check, probably since Bryce Brown or Jared Harper.
Yeah.
But he's done well from the free throw line. He was clearly outsized tonight. I mean, Mississippi State is a very tall team. He's not very good against the trap. I'm going to just look kind of off the fly real quick, because I should have taken a quick peek at this one real quick. Only 3 turnovers got accredited to him. It felt like it was a million. Decision making was a little bit. It left a lot to be desired. And I've never been one to call Wendell a ball hog. I think he's a great facilitator. There were a handful of possessions in big moments where you start to wonder, Flan, when are you going to dish the ball? And I'm not Flan, excuse me, Wendell. You know what I meant. I meant to say when are you going to dish the ball? Decision making's got to improve, but Daniel, correct me if I'm wrong here, man. I think that Wendell Green Jr. has become the most vocal leader. He's taken huge strides, and is really that's his team.
Yeah, I would have to agree. If you just watch him play, they run around Wendell. Those huddles that they call, like when the other team's going to the line, he's the one in the middle. He's the one talking, and he's the one giving direction. Which I'm glad to see that this team finally kind of has a leader.
They needed one.
Yeah. Because obviously Jabari was the leader last year, right? Best player. Everyone kind of just looked at him. This team doesn't have a first-round draft pick. They just don't. At this point, things can change. But as of now, There's not one. So Wendell kind of is taking on that role, and I'm really glad to see that.
It's encouraging. And he also had another funny moment where when Leo Borman was shooting a free throw, he made his first one. And instead of reaching back like guards do to like, typically guards, but everyone to go get high fives from their backcourt, he started like rubbing his hands together, and Wendell reached up and just grabbed him on the arm and shook his hand backwards and just let him go back to the line.
And I believe Leo Berman missed that free throw, did he?
He did. So rumor has it that might have been Wendell's fault. But hey, if Wendell's not going to miss from the free throw line, he's got to cost someone else too, right? So.
But talk about some of the miscues. You brought up the turnovers. Auburn had 20 turnovers tonight, 7 of which should come from Alan Flanagan for the ESPN stat sheet. Another miscue is Leo Berman shot 0 for 1 from the 3-point line, ruining his perfect streak that he was having.
No, he shot 1 for 2.
No, he shot 0 for 1.
Did he really?
Yeah, he did.
That's a bummer. He sure did.
It's
no, it was 1 for 2. It says right here on the stat line. I can screen share.
The free throw line.
You said the free throw line.
I said 3-point line.
Oh, never mind. I thought I heard free throw line in my mind.
Yeah, but ruined his perfect streak. He hasn't missed a 3-point shot since Washington, and it's a sad sight to see. Probably the worst day in Auburn sports ever.
I'd like to put it out there before we transition into the last part of this conversation. Leo Berman is quietly one of the best defenders on this team, and I'm not like, you can quote that. That's fine. And you can call that a hot take all you want. The dude's just a fundamentally good defender. It's remarkable. And there's a lot of that hustle aspect, and he's sneaky athletic. Yeah, we've all heard those stereotypes, whatever. He knows where he's supposed to be. He doesn't lose his man very often. And then on the offensive floor, I mean, if he's a little bigger, you probably feed him more because his cuts are good. His off-ball ability, I mean, he brings a ton of value on the court off ball, which we don't appreciate this kind of people enough. I really wanted to throw that out there. I'm being sincere, not just Leo Berman fanboying, because I am a stan.
I mean, you don't have to like ask permission for me to do it. If you want me to put a Leo Berman quote on the social medias, I will do it. No questions asked. But another one of the miscues tonight was Mississippi State got to the free throw line so much tonight. They shot 28 free throws on Auburn's 22 personal fouls.
Yeah, if the Bulldogs are good from the line, Auburn loses this game.
If the Bulldogs are very good from the line, they shot 75% as a team, and they converted a good bit, but they split a bunch. I mean, they really Mississippi State split a bunch of their free throws. I think Auburn probably still winds up winning this in a different way. Officiating was 2 different games on both sides, by the way. Like the first half is completely different from the second half. And I don't like to complain about officiating, but it was hard to watch from a fan perspective, both halves for different reasons.
I mean,
because correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think there was a single free throw taken in the first half.
No, there was not a single free throw.
There was not. Also, last grievance about the officials. That was all ball on Leo Berman. Carry on.
But yeah, looking at some of the players tonight, Deshaun Davis from Mississippi State, he averaged 7.8 points a game. Tonight he had 13, and 11 of those points came from the free throw line. And just another player on Mississippi State, Auburn could not stop Tolu Smith, which I feel like we
talked about in the preview episode that if he goes for 20, you're going to struggle. And I mean, it was close.
He scored 20. He had a double-double, 20 and 10 on the dot, actually.
Far and away the best player from Mississippi State. And if he's got another year of eligibility, he's going to look really, really good in Kentucky Blue next year.
I think it's Keyshawn Murphy, actually.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Murph. Moving on from that point, my last point to this, Dylan, before I transition over, and we got one more basketball point. We'll make it quick. But my last Auburn point, and we touched about this at the beginning of the show. You got to start running teams out of the gym. I know it sounds like Auburn fans are getting greedy and you're asking for too much more than a win. A win is a win is a win is a win. We say it on this podcast every freaking week, Dylan. We do. But it's extremely important. Every now and again, if you're just clearly better, and Auburn in the first half was clearly better until they decided they were going to let Mississippi State back into it. You've got to start running some teams out the gym. And that's not just me wanting more. It's the selection committee going to need to see more.
Yes. I mean, Auburn should have this 6-point win over a team who shot 0 of 18 from the 3-point line. There's no reason at all this game should not be a double-digit plus win tonight, especially in the jungle.
Right. That's I couldn't say it any better. I do have a question for both of you, and you put it on the rundown. I was going to ask it anyways. Not Auburn related, SEC related, directly impacting Auburn. Kentucky did beat Tennessee today, which is pretty big for Auburn, actually, because you needed a loss on Tennessee's record, and now it's kind of a wide open race at the top, right?
Yeah.
Not that I'm not saying that Alabama's not the clear favorite, because I think they are. But this is that was a big win for actually Auburn fans wanting Kentucky to win, probably for the first time maybe ever today. That's like the worst of the worst. Tennessee, Kentucky for Auburn fans. That's like misery for them. But Calipari, do you think that is he on the hot seat?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
I feel like you need a losing record at the start of the season to even be considered in the hot seat for a coach that's been he's basically tenured there.
Well, no, he has a lifetime contract.
Well, yeah. Tenured, same thing.
Yeah.
Would you like for me to just defend my position real quick?
Go ahead.
So the thing is, this Kentucky team, just so much talent has filtered through that school. Names like, or I'm not even going to say Anthony Davis because he's not part of this next discussion. In 2012, you have that team, 5 first-round draft picks. You win the Natty. Phenomenal. Okay. I could coach that coaching staff to a national championship.
You're absolutely right.
Okay, so then just think about all the names that have gone through that team. You have Devin Booker. You have Karl Anthony Towns. Every team is every NBA team has a Kentucky Wildcat. Tie. Every team has a Kentucky Wildcat, all right? There's no talent shortage at all. But what happens every March? Early loss, early exit, Sweet 16, St. Peter's. I just don't think that they can get it done.
Now, I'm not going to disagree with you, Daniel. I mean, I'm about the fact that at some point you kind of look, and this is a weird lackadaisical comp, but look at Auburn fans' discontent with Gus Malzahn and make it not similar to John Calipari. I mean that I already could see that quote on the grid. Yeah, but I mean it's not. I don't think it's dissimilar. It's the same concept. I understand where you're coming from. I think it's going to take a horrendous season back to back to get Calipari canned. The fans turnout at Rupp has been pathetic this year though.
Yeah,
because they're over it, which is it's bizarre to me. So we'll keep an eye on that.
But sorry to interrupt you.
Go ahead.
But just in the COVID year, and Kentucky just wasn't great that year. That was Auburn's probably closest game in Rupp in a very long time. And then, like, obviously last year they were very good, a very high seed. Then what happened in the tournament happened. Best game I've ever watched, quite frankly. And then this year, you're mid again. So, like, this is the Alabama football equivalent. Like, Kentucky is the Alabama equivalent. All right.
Without the rings. I'm sorry. I just loved how that was. You had the most like eloquent verbiage, and then you said, "And then this year you're mid again." It was beautiful, and I wouldn't have scripted it any better, Daniel. I loved it.
You look really good on the grid.
Yeah, we're giving you free grid content for that matter.
I just feel like how many mid seasons are those fans going to put up with?
Oh, I get it. I'm with you. I just don't think that the powers that be. One, you can't afford, but you probably can, but it's a tough PR move and a tough break the bank.
You're not wrong
to get them gone, and I don't think that necessarily it's time just yet. There is a guy who competes for national championships every single year, Dylan.
There is a guy, and it's not really a guy; it's a tiger.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, Aubie finished 3rd today in the mascot championship, right behind Smokey from Tennessee and the Bearcat from Cincinnati, who ended up winning. But
hey, Cincinnati got their national championship.
Hey, that's back to back for the Bearcat.
Is it?
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm with it. I like the
Bearcat dynasty.
It's starting.
But the only difference between these three mascots is the fact that the Bearcat and Smokey is some guy in a costume. The things that Auburn has trained this tiger to do, it's outstanding. I mean, have you ever seen? I've never seen a tiger just like put on a Top Gun outfit and then like crowd surf into the stands. I mean, it's outstanding. I don't know how he doesn't win every year.
My favorite Aubie moment ever was when Tank Bigsby had his breakout freshman year. And so his sophomore year, Aubie was riding in a cardboard tank around wearing Army camo with binoculars. That was a good one. So shout out Aubie. You know what? I wish we could get an Aubie feature on the podcast. I'm sure he'd have a lot to add.
so he'd have a lot to say. But I mean, my favorite Obby moment, he was on campus for me whenever I was getting my grad picks. So I have a grad pick with Obby.
Oh, that's awesome. What's your favorite Obby moment?
In 2021 when the Alabama State Hornets came to town, obviously bringing the very famous world-renowned honeybee dance line, and Obby dresses up as Winnie the Pooh.
That's amazing.
I forgot about that.
I'm about to go hunting.
Anyways, so Auburn women's basketball has a big test tomorrow, and we'll be quick about this one.
Today, actually, as this is going up.
Yeah, today, correct. I'm sorry. On Sunday. So tomorrow, Sunday afternoon, today afternoon, this afternoon. Hello, good morning, welcome, happy Sunday. Happy College Loop Sunday to those who celebrate, right? I tweet that every freaking day. But I don't ever chalk it up as a loss until all is said and done, right? LSU 17-0. They're number 5 in the country. They're going to, in my opinion, they're going to play close ball with South Carolina this year. You've got a handful of girls averaging in double figures, and by that I mean they have 4 girls averaging double figures. Angel Reese is her. We've known this, and Aisha Coulibaly's still hurt. This is going to be another one of those opportunities, and I talked about this with Lindsey Crosby on the Auburn Daily Show on Friday. A little shameless plug. It's okay. I'm gonna turn it over to Daniel here after this, but I what I told him is this is an opportunity to get better, and that's really the way you have to look at it.
Yeah. So I know it's clipped, and I'm still proud of it, but the glimmer of hope that I was able to find against South Carolina, I'm just not really finding it here. Being without Aisha is huge. So kind of like Tarr said, what you do here is you take this as an opportunity to learn. This is the second best team on your schedule. So you just go, you see what they've got, and then if you can just take every lesson you can out of this, there's no reason that you can't turn it around next time. Because you have Ole Miss soon at home. That's a get-right game. I forget who their midweek opponent is this week.
Carry on. I can pull it for you.
But you've got to take advantage of these learning opportunities. Because a loss is not necessarily pointless.
Well, I'm listening.
Like
I wasn't disputing that. I was talking about the midweek game is not necessarily get right. There's Mississippi State in between LSU and Ole Miss. So.
Yeah. So just learn twice, and then you have a get right game. Maybe.
I think that when I say that, and I'm building off what Daniel's saying, you don't chalk it up as a loss. You take every single game. If we already knew who was going to win, we wouldn't play the game.
Right.
And that's I will live that, put that on my freaking headstone. I mean that and take that and use that as a mantra in everything in life. I'm not even kidding. This is a great opportunity for every single player on Auburn's roster, from starter to bench, from the front of the bench to the end of the bench, to get better, to play really good competition. This is an opportunity for Coach Jay and her staff to get better. You got to coach a perfect game if you're going to be a team like this. You've got to play a perfect game to beat a team like this. Practice playing perfect. You might find yourself in the thick of things. I mean, that's why you play. So that's kind of my outlook on this, and probably the way Auburn fans should probably take it. That being said, Daniel, unless you have anything to add, I'm going to throw it to Dylan and let him transition into Mr. Tank Talks football.
So the big key to the game is get the ball inside, stay out of foul trouble.
It's that simple. And shoot the ball well from 3. I mean, this is the best 3-point shooting team we've seen in years.
Yeah.
And before we transition to football, let's go transition to another sport, Auburn.
My apologies. I'm sorry. It's a little on the rundown.
Yes, it is. Auburn gymnastics, number 5 ranked team in the country, went against the number 2,
Florida.
Florida this yesterday or Friday. They lost again to Florida. I actually had my stat wrong. They're actually 0 for 21 and 1. I forgot I was actually at that meet last night.
Yeah.
But it felt like a loss because ties are not fun.
That tie was pretty fun.
That tie was fun.
That tie was pretty fun.
As a sports manic, I don't want to tie.
No, I'm 100% with you. I get it. Daniel, I'll let you jump in here wherever you want. Florida is a very good gymnastics team, but so is Auburn. This was a great road score in a hostile environment. Florida actually sells, on average, they sell more tickets to gymnastics than they do men's basketball. I mean, that's not a shade I'm throwing at basketball. They're crazy about their gymnastics in Gainesville, and they have been for a very, very long time. And if this meets it at Neville Arena, I mean, home field advantage and home court advantage is a little different in gymnastics, but the atmosphere is different. Suni Lee went on bars. I'm sorry, not on bars. Went on beam and scored a 9.95 right after there was a perfect 10 on the floor, and Florida fans were still chanting 10, 10, 10 throughout her entire routine. This is one of those things, and that's part of the game. That's part of the sport. It might be different if this is at Neville. This is a great road score.
One thing about gymnastics that just makes me respect it so much is those athletes are literally being judged against perfection. And the way that they can go out there in a tough environment like that, give it everything they have, and come out with a score this close against a team that very well could win the national championship in April, I think you can chalk it up as not a horrible loss.
There were also 3 perfect 10s in this meet. 2 of them came from Florida.
Yeah.
And Trinity Thomas is her. We've known this. She's a 5th-year super senior at Florida. She's been good for years. And she's one of the top collegiate gymnasts in the United States, but they're loaded just like Auburn is. So I mean, I know that it's weird and to not see road losses or losses really counting against you. This actually probably benefits Auburn in the long run in the world of collegiate gymnastics. Holy crap, we've had such a good gym conversation on this podcast. Like, quote that.
Will do. I will ask some before we transition to football. I have a little funny question to ask. Out of floor, beam, and bars, which one do you think y'all could score the highest points on?
Oh,
Beam.
Get Daniel to beam.
Floor.
I can't dance.
You're not even counting vault. You don't think any of us could do it?
I don't know.
I forgot about vault. I mean,
I think I could provide the most comedic relief on vault. I think that I could score the highest on floor, and I think I would score about a 5.
these were 5.
I think I could score 5 on floor.
I'm quoting that.
I don't really mean that at all.
I'm just going to quote it out of context so it gets enough traction by some gymnastics.
But make sure when you put it like Harrison Tarr out of context.
I'm making a separate Twitter, Harrison Tarr out of context.
No context, the college loop.
I do love the Fortnite chair you're on.
Yeah, I know. Drew rocks a Fortnite.
But yeah, to go to the football conversation, it was 32 degrees this morning in Auburn, Alabama. Some of that had to do with the fact that Auburn picked up yet another transfer recruit from Ole Miss. So he wanted a great change of scenery from Oxford to Auburn. 3-star, helped Auburn secure a top spot in the transfer portal rankings in the SEC. I think they're 4th right now in college football per 24/7 Sports. But I mean, they're also behind Colorado, who has like 40 transfers coming in. So, but yeah, Austin Keys, he was a sophomore last season, so he has 2 more years of eligibility. Last season had 39 tackles for 2 sacks and a forced fumble. He's 6'2", 245 pounds.
So he's about the same weight as he was when he came in at Ole Miss, actually. He was 6'2", 241, which, I mean, you only put in a couple of pounds of linebacker. We talked about this before you got out of the pod, Dylan. I'm glad you gave me the quick rundown. I'm actually enjoying a vacation weekend here in Auburn, which is I've not actually gone on a little mental vacation in a while. I didn't even know Austin Keys committed. I knew that he was on the radar. It even took me a minute when you mentioned it. I was like, wait, who? And then I was like, oh, wait a minute. We talked about him earlier in the week. I think it's a starter, Daniel. I really do.
Yeah.
I'm curious. Is the linebacker room done?
I'm not going to go as far to say that any position is done quite yet. Maybe running back is done.
Running back's done.
I feel like there are plenty of backs in the room. Secondary, yeah.
Yeah.
But no, I don't think running back's done. And also, I know this is probably going to go there, so I'll just get it there. I don't think quarterback's done.
Well, yeah. I don't know.
Give it to the end there, Daniel.
That's I don't know yet. I think that quarterbacks could be done. I think that either Freeze is going to get the guy that he's looking at. I think there's probably one clear answer. We've said his name probably 100 times on the show. Or we're going to wait until the spring transfer period if another quarterback emerges. So,
yeah. But another guys that we missed the day that our last episode came out. Justin Rogers committed to Auburn, 4-star defensive lineman out of Kentucky. And the
defensive line is so good now.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I completely missed this one.
Yeah, you did?
How?
Yeah,
He's
good.
6'3", 332 pounds. This man is big.
huge. Yeah.
He's a big
Yeah.
boy.
Huge guy.
36 tackles, half a sack last season, but wasn't really a starter. He's a raw talent type defensive tackle that Kentucky really hates that they lost. Like they really hate they
They
lost.
were up in arms about this.
Yeah, it was like LSU whenever Demario Tolan committed to Auburn. When a team is not happy about a player leaving, that means you won in some aspect.
Yeah, 100%. And this defensive line room. I mean, now I talked about this with Lindsey Crosby on Friday because this broke before we recorded the Auburn Daily Show. This is a guy that now that defensive line room, you have rotational depth, which is something we've not seen since a couple of guys, and this is verbatim what I told Lindsey. A couple of guys named Derek and Marlon were playing on that defensive line. And you might have kind of had that this past year with Aguiliota and Derek Hall coming off the edge, but like this is a scary good defensive front. The potential to be a scary good defensive front.
Yeah, and adding plenty of depth on a D line that really needed it. I mean, Auburn was losing Ikuliota and I don't remember who, Derek Hall, Kobe Wooten. And so depth was a big thing that this team wasn't going to have going into next season. And
Don't
just
got any more of those Wooten brothers?
Yeah, there's another.
There is another. You're so right.
but he's in the secondary, a position where
Hey, beef
Auburn
him
is
up.
completely stacked.
it's just in the bloodline, right?
Just let him gain about 100 more pounds and he'll be fine.
Right. That's right.
But another linebacker Auburn's been in the loop for. We're talking about how linebackers not a position.
Get it like the loop because we're on the College Loop podcast.
Jesus Christ. Another linebacker is Nick Jackson. He was a junior last year for Virginia. This guy could potentially start next season at linebacker. I know we talked about how Robert Woodyard,
Yeah.
Demario Tolan are really good, but we're bringing in a guy who has 3 years of experience. And in those 3 years, he was a third-team All-ACC in 2020. And 2021, 2022, he was back-to-back All-ACC second team. He led the ACC and was 9th in NCAA in tackles per game.
He actually has 4 years of experience and 2 years of eligibility going.
Yep. 2022, 104 tackles, 5 sacks, 1 forced fumble, and 4 pass deflections. He is 6'1", 234 pounds, and he played wide receiver in high school.
Daniel was so excited to say that.
Is that what you were waiting for?
I was gonna say, and 34 receiving yards. Hey, that can be the Trout at linebacker. You have to do one practice at wide receiver and you see how you do.
I don't hate it. I don't.
I mean, if one linebacker could ever reach my NCAA 14 prowess, returning interceptions back for touchdowns, it'd be immaculate. So maybe he can do that.
5 sacks in 2022. That's the most eye-popping number to me. And for obvious reasons. I think now, I still think Demario Tolan's probably going to wind up being the guy in terms of more reps. I think they'll split. And now you have rotational depth. And this is why I meant to ask if linebacker was done after we talked about Nick Jackson. I think it probably is now, just because you're running out of scholarship spots, which is.
That's if he can. Sorry, I have to move to the floor so I can. So this does really help the linebacker room. Nick Jackson would be a huge get. He was visiting this weekend. Tarr talked about how he's expecting to commit soon. So we'll have that up as soon as it happens. But yeah, he'd be a huge get. And you have to wonder, Demario Tolan's a guy, but it's going to be a 4-2-5 system. So, I mean, we don't know what the D line's going to look like, but this could definitely be a pretty solid linebacker core with either Robert Woodyard or Nick Jackson or any of those guys coming off the bench.
I think this could wind up being now. Let me say this about Nick Jackson's commitment. First off, we could know as soon as this podcast comes out on Sunday morning, or sometime during the day on Sunday, that Nick Jackson's committed to Auburn or committed elsewhere. But if you add a guy like this, and even if you don't, this defensive unit has the potential, in terms of talent wise, to be 2017-esque. Like the best team since 2017. That defense was special, man. That 2019 defense was special. But this team has the potential to return to what we saw under Kevin Steele. And that should be encouraging because we don't know what the offense is going to look like.
Yeah,
No.
we I was talking to Tar about doing this. Like, I'm pitching this to Daniel. I know Tar talked about like doing our own separate 5-minute videos, breaking down every position by position, just so to save us some breathing room on the podcast. But I feel like some of the best positions that are going to be fun to talk about are the linebacker position, defensive line, and maybe the wide receiver room.
And I feel like quarterback's just always in that conversation because
Yeah,
people
but
are constantly talking about it.
if Spencer Sanders somehow commits somewhere else, we're going to transition to Spencer Sanders right now. If he were to commit anywhere else, I guess it's chalked up to Robbie's job. But you'd think Holden Geriner is able to battle it out, make it fun, make Robbie better in the process. And under Hugh Freeze and under a quarterback mind like him and Philip Montgomery, you really like how Robbie Asher could play next season. Tar, you about to say something?
No, I was just going to throw in there that I don't. There's no way in the world, and this will. I probably just cursed Auburn, so I apologize to Auburn fans. There's no way in the world that TJ Finley winds up winning a job and actually being able to play. But I think we expect TJ Finley to be in spring camp.
He's at winter workouts. I forgot to put it on the rundown because I forgot. Like I almost forgot he was on the roster. But yeah, TJ Finley's also in the conversation? Question mark. He'll be battling out with Hank Brown to see who gets the red shirt.
Well, you wonder if Sanders doesn't commit. This is not TJ's job. This is Robbie's job to lose if Sanders doesn't come to Auburn. But if Sanders doesn't commit, you wonder if maybe Hugh Freeze offers TJ to redshirt, so you have another quarterback on the roster. I think a lot of people think highly of Hank Brown. I've certainly heard a lot of good things and seen a lot of good things on film about Hank Brown. I think we all agree that he's going to redshirt.
Yeah.
Holden Geriner, a lot of people think he's going to compete for that job. And I think it's like I said, I think it's Robbie's to lose, but I certainly think he can lose it. And I would almost venture to guess that Hugh Freeze might be interested in keeping TJ on the roster, if nothing else, but you got a warm body who's at least played quarterback before in case everything else goes wrong.
Yeah. And I mean, talk about like other quarterbacks that were on Auburn's roster, like Zach Calzada he just committed to Incarnate Word. I mean, that's another quarterback Auburn lost that could have been a good depth piece just to keep. Like, if you lose Robbie Ashford and you lose Holden Geriner somehow, pray to God it doesn't happen. But I mean, you got to throw in a true freshman and Hank Brown, or you got to throw in TJ Finley, who Auburn fans are probably going to groan at the thought of TJ Finley going in. And I mean,
but he probably gives you a better chance to win a game than Hank Brown. I'm not. This is not taking anything away from Hank. I actually think Zach Blackerby over at the Auburn Daily calls him the baby goat. I've actually got really high expectations for him. I think he's a great diamond in the rough and an overlooked guy. But you'd rather have someone that's played SEC ball.
Yes.
Even if it's not someone who, I mean, quite frankly, is not very good. But you'd rather have someone who's played SEC ball.
Yeah. So you're really hoping that someone does come in just to give Auburn a little bit more depth. I don't expect TJ Finley to remain on the roster per his graduation in the spring. I expect him to go and leave out soon after the 8A game comes and goes. But it'll be an interesting. But TJ Finley and maybe Holden Geriner could be an interesting QB battle. I know we talked about how highly touted Holden is, but I mean, I'm trying to remember. There was a past Auburn season where the second string quarterback position was actually more interesting than who's going to be the starter, because the starter was already set in stone, and the second string was like, who's going to back him up?
That would be the Jarrett Stidham, Malik Willis season.
Jarrett Stidham, Malik Willis, and Joe Gatewood. Yep, and I mean, you look at that past QB battle between Gatewood and Malik Willis, and I mean, both those guys ended up transferring, and one of them had a good career after he left Auburn. The other one's still in the transfer portal, playing for his 6th season in college football. But I think Hank Brown versus Holden Geriner versus TJ Finley, with TJ Finley, who is probably looking to impress some other coaches. I think the 8A game could also be a very good opportunity for him to maybe stay in the FBS level. I mean, if Zach Calzada goes FCS, I feel like there's a good chance that TJ Finley will be also in the FCS soon.
Yeah, I already said this.
Well, I'm just repeating the facts, Daniel. I know that.
Southern incoming.
Incarnate Word. He just backs up Zach Calzada again.
That would be so funny, dude. Oh my gosh. It should be interesting to hold on and take a look at this quarterback situation. We'll at the end of this week, we'll actually know what's going on. Because we're getting close to the end of that transfer window. So
I do believe that you said the January the 16th.
I believe it's the 16th that the transfer portal window
I think
closes.
the 16th is the last day you can declare for the NFL draft, which a lot of Ohio State fans are freaking out because CJ Stroud is yet to have declared for the draft yet. But I mean, that'd be
January 18th. January 18th. So we'll actually be able to have a show.
so the Wednesday.
Wednesday night. We'll be able to record on Wednesday.
Me and you are going to be back to back on that day.
Yeah. That's
So
good. That's good for us.
Hopefully
Awesome.
we'll wake up to answers.
You'll have all the college loop and the Auburn Daily Rundown content for closing of the transfer portal. That'll be huge. We'll be able to talk by the Thursday episode about what this looks like.
But with that being said, support your women's basketball team. We're going to need it tomorrow. To make a long story short, versus the top 5 team. And with all that being said, this is the College Loop Podcast. I'm Dylan Larck at your boy the Tank on Twitter. And y'all can go ahead and
At Daniel Locke, at Daniel J. Locke on Twitter.
I'm Harrison Tarr at Harrison Tarr on Twitter. You can check out my work at the College Loop. Obviously, like you're listening to this podcast, you can also check out Dylan and I's work over at the Auburn Daily. That's at the Auburn Daily and the Auburn Daily Show. Make sure you check that out Monday through Friday every single week. And you've got the College Loop Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday. So you should never run out of Auburn content. Thank you guys so much for listening to the show.
And before we go, follow TikTok. We have daily content on there. Which is,
Oh yeah, if you're not hanging out with the College Loop on social medias, I don't know what you're doing, man. You're missing out. You're actually missing out. It's a good time.
Right.
We have fun.
Miss on some fun memes. But see y'all on Tuesday.